Welcome to our little boat project, folks. Nice to see you again. If you're a new visitor, my name is Rick, and with my wife Lori, we're building a 31.5-foot diesel trawler in our backyard. This week, I'm moving forward to the bow, pardon the pun, anyhow. I'm going to focus on getting the outside of the boat as close to paint as possible. There's still a large amount of work to do to get it ready to get it to that point. So, anyways, I've had the anchor pulpit in mind for a long time, and as you can see, it's coming together. A few parts are still needed, and they'll be coming soon. Getting the chain from the windlass to the anchor locker is going to pose some real challenges too. So sit back and I'll tell you a tale. Let's get into it. So here I am up on the pointy end, folks. For all you boat part naming aficionados, this is the bow. And today's task is to design and fabricate a raised section for the bow that will support the anchor pulpit, and I guess we will call it a Foc'sle. Foc'sle is a contraction of the words forward castle, which was the traditional forward end of a sailing ship. I mean, it's more than that, but that's a little too much to go into right now. So what I'm doing here is marking out the upper limit of the deck that will cover the forecastle, and it's going to be about 2 inches below the gunnel. The gunnel is the top edge of the side of the hull that you're looking at. You can see here I always have my Sharpie at hand because I wear it around my neck. You wouldn't believe the amount of time I spent, or wasted rather, looking for a Sharpie. That doesn't happen anymore. I apologize for the fan noise in the background. It's getting pretty warm here in eastern Ontario now, and as I'm recording this, we've got a heat dome over our head, which most of North America has right now, so it gets pretty stifling. More battens, lots of battens. There's always battens. The inclusion of a Foc'sle deck on this model of boat was something that was not included with the kit. It's not on any of the drawings or designs, so this all has to be done from scratch, and it's coming straight out of my head, so I've got no idea what we're going to end up with yet. This is a device called a contour gauge, and this is really the first time I've used it for anything. It's a cheapie. I think I got it off of Amazon, and it's not very good. You actually have to tighten the little thumb screws with a pair of vice grips to get it to hold its position. And then once I get it set, I've got to try and get it down off the boat and into the workshop without moving it. So needless to say, I came back and I did this 3 or 4 times. This is the first of 2 new sheets of marine plywood I bought. It's Meranti, it's heavy. I think it's 42 pounds per sheet, which is not too bad when you have that little handle tool to carry it. Here's the marking gauge that I finally managed to get down into the workshop without messing it up totally, but I have all the rough measurements, and it just happened, well actually I planned it to be exactly 4 feet wide, so You pick a nice even number like that, and you can cut out pretty reasonable economy of your materials when you start to cut parts out. Here we go again. Can't read my own handwriting. This was the first of about 4 or 5 attempts to get the part to fit perfectly, and there's a bit of bevel that had to be sanded into each edge of the plywood, and you know how much I love sanding. I've actually already vacuumed down the whole area, and now I'm just giving it a wipe down with some acetone to make sure I get all the dust off, because this is where I'm going to start gluing parts onto the hull. Starting the process to glue the parts into place, and it all starts with nice little fillets and generous amounts of wood epoxy glue. This is a process you're all familiar with. It's making fillets, and we're going to tab this part into the hull and to the foredeck.
started this tabbing pretty early in the morning because I wanted it to be as cool as possible. That way the epoxy doesn't kick off before you can get it rolled out. And that works pretty good, except when you're working over bare plywood. If you're working glassing over bare plywood, you really want to start when the temperatures are a little higher and they start to drop, and that helps prevent off-gassing from causing bubbles in your layup. So here I've used the contour gauge again to try and get the shape of the bow to make the deck platform, and it kind of worked okay and it kind of didn't. I think it moved a little bit, and I didn't double check my measurements, and needless to say I had to do this part twice. The two cuts I have to make on this panel all have a slight curve to them, so I've set the blade shallow on the circular saw, which makes it easier to steer it along that slightly curved line. Just a little trim to get the final shape of the panel before I can set it into place. You can see the bow pulpit is now sitting on that forward raised deck, and what I was doing there was just marking a relief that I have to cut out in the forward end so that the bow pulpit can extend beyond the bow. So the whole Foc'sle structure has to be very strong when you think about the forces that will be applied to the boat at that point from your anchor chain. Um, it's got to support quite a bit of weight and resist being torn out, etc. So here the foredeck is going to get two heavy layers of glass on the top and one on the bottom. And as you can see, Lori stepped up to roll with it, baby.
Twice. You're twice, not once. Well, at least it's good weather for it. You don't have to worry about it kicking through the house.
Well, in theory, if we do it less than 24 hours, we don't have to sand here, we'll have to do that. So we have to one. And then the screw temperatures.
No, so if you put another coat over it, you still have to do it like sand, right?
No.
No?
You have to do it like within 24 hours.
Oh.
Because it takes like a week for it to actually float through. Well, I got one of those red ones that did Harbor Freight. It's about the paint.
No. You'll get stuck to them.
Yeah, like that.
Well, I don't know. You're walking around with you hanging off my boobs. Cause a lot of gossip.
Just throw it down here.
Why?
Woke up one morning and I was thinking about maybe putting a Samson post in the front end of the boat. A Samson post is just a large mooring or towing bit, and it's usually very strong and it's usually anchored to the keel of the boat. So what I'm cutting here, I think, is about 22 inches off the end of a very large chunk of sapelli mahogany, and this piece of wood, which is beautiful, came with our boat kit that we bought, and I really wasn't planning on using it, and then I thought, I've got the material, let's give it a shot and see what happens. There's all kinds of traditional shapes for the tops of Samson posts, and I looked at a few, and then I decided, well, I'm just going to do a pyramid type top, or a beveled edge top, or whatever you want to call it. And I made a couple of different tries with the table saw and settled on about 20 degrees. What I'm doing here is cutting a beveled groove all the way around the perimeter of the post. It's decorative, it might be functional for something, I don't know, but anyways, it's going to look cool, I think. just using the edges here with a small end.
Yeah.
The ceremonial and always satisfying ripping off of the peel ply. This time it's pretty tough too. It was well stuck on there. I always like to give Lori the opportunity to participate in the removing of the peel ply. Seeing as she helps stick it on there, I think she enjoys doing it.
That wasn't near as much fun as I wanted it to be. Piece of fiberglass in my thumb.
Welcome to my world, dear.
Just a quick trim around the perimeter to get all the fiberglass fangs off, the ones that have the potential to open an artery and then you bleed out on your boat, and all that hard work you could be wasted.
That's gonna wrap up this week's video, folks. It was a long one for sure. I hope you watched it all. I hope you watched the whole thing, right? That's okay. I know they're kind of boring, monotonous, tedious, but that's boat building. It's hard to really make it exciting. Next week it'll get a little more interesting. I'll be making a mooring bit, or what some people call a Samson post, for the bow pulpit. The deck, lots of sanding, some thickened epoxy, and yeah, it's coming together. So until next week, please stay well and happy. From Lori and I, cheers.